Yo, how's it going guys? Welcome back to a new video. Today we're gonna look at some very important tips that new players can apply to increase the number of matches that they win. Let's get straight into the video. So the first tip that we have here is you need to develop the habit of looking at the top left of your screen to check how many players are left alive. This is quite important because checking how many players are left alive in the match gives you an idea of how many teams are left. For example, if you look at the top left of your screen and there are around 6 or less people alive in a battle royale match, then in most cases that gives you an idea that only one other team is left alive. Sometimes a lot of players panic expecting enemies to be in certain positions, when in actual sense there's only 2 people left alive in the entire match and they only have to deal with one other enemy. So keeping an eye on how many people are left alive in a match will definitely allow you to keep a straight head and make the best possible decisions as you play. And that brings us to our next tip, which is kind of related to the first. You need to always keep an eye on the KO log, and this log also appears on the top left of your screen, and its purpose is to show you which players are destroying which other players and which heroes they are using. So for example, when you see a player's name and then the weapon and then the player that has been destroyed, first of all this gives you an idea of which kind of player is out there. Is it a very good player that you know? It also tells you which hero this player is using, judging by the icon of the weapon that you see. So as you continue to play the game, you get to know which icon stands for which weapon. That's definitely a very helpful piece of information, and it allows you to know which heroes and which kind of players to expect. And that's it for that point. And then we proceed to the third point. And here it's important to always keep an eye on the direction of gunfire or explosions. As you continue to play the game and you're taking part in different matches, you will notice that there are always other battles going on in different parts of the map, and depending on your position on the map, you can always hear some of these explosions and gunshots, and you can also see the direction where they're coming from. This can allow you to third-party fights, and by third-party I mean this can allow you to go towards areas where battles have just ended, and when you do this, you have a chance of finding enemies that have been severely injured, and these enemies will be very easy for you to destroy. So the more you get used to responding to other battles happening on other parts of the map, the more weak enemies you will come across, and this will allow you to easily rack up the kills and take out enemies at the same time, increasing your chances of winning. And then proceeding to the fourth tip, which is also related to the third tip, avoid unnecessary grenades or rockets. Every time you throw a grenade and it explodes, or every time you fire a rocket and it blows up, enemies on other parts of the map can pick up that noise and they will think that battles are going on where you are, and they will come in the hopes of being a third party to a fight. So every time you detonate these explosions randomly, you end up attracting enemies, and you don't know what kind of enemies are out there. You know, you might end up attracting teams of divine heroes which will destroy you quickly, and these teams would otherwise have faced off other enemies and would probably have been destroyed, but because you made unnecessary noise, you attracted these teams to come towards you and take you out. And moving on to the next point, again, as you continue to play the game, you will play on a variety of maps, and you'll also realize that some of these maps were designed in such a way that the spawn points are very close to each other. So the points where all the different heroes appear at the start of the match are close to each other, and it's very easy for enemies to leave their spawn point and come to your spawn point, or it's also very easy for you to leave your spawn point and go to the enemy spawn point and surprise them. So what I've learned over the time I've played the game is, on some of these maps, it's important to leave the spawn point immediately the match begins, especially when you fail to get enough ammo at the beginning. because when there's no ammo in that spawn point, it's going to be very easy for an enemy team to destroy you if they decide to come and surprise you. What I do in most cases, when the match begins and I realize I'm in a very bad spawn point, I immediately leave the spawn point, because staying there is quite dangerous and you don't know which kind of enemies are going to surprise you. The other thing that you can use these maps for is if you're playing a character like Ghost and you get spawned in a spawn point that is very close to other spawn points, you can pick up ammo very quickly. Remember, Ghost can do that, and then quickly take out one of the enemies or even two of them at the next spawn point. This will give you a quick advantage at the beginning of the match and will give you a chance to take out one of the teams quickly. And then proceeding to the next tip here, it's important to know the strong points and weaknesses of your heroes. This is because certain heroes are more effective at certain stages of the game than others. I'll give you an example. A hero like Bastion is quite dangerous in the end game when the circle is quite small and enemies don't have anywhere to hide. Bastion can just put up his shield and he can even end up melting an entire team just using his shield. Another example that I would give you is the heroes that use thermovision. These heroes are also very effective towards the end of the game when the circle becomes very small, because all they have to do is hide behind a wall and activate thermovision, and they will be able to shoot at enemies without the enemies being able to react or shoot back. So it's definitely important to understand the strongest points of your heroes and the periods of the match when your heroes provide the highest amount of value. And the next tip that we have here is, after you take out an enemy and they are calling for help, you need to stay nearby and destroy any help that arrives. I noticed this with a lot of new players that I've played with. After they knock out an enemy, they immediately go and leave that area, not even caring if the enemy is going to be revived or not. This is very bad, because you're going to realize that many of the enemies you destroy, you find them at the end of the match and they destroy you. So I would definitely advise you to keep around the area after destroying an enemy to make sure that any help that arrives is also destroyed and the whole team is eliminated. And then the next tip that we have, don't be useless after being knocked out. Another thing that I noticed from new players is, once they are knocked out, they just stay there and they don't do anything. They don't even point towards where enemies are, they just relax and wait to be revived while spamming the help button. What you want to do is, after you get knocked out, you can still use your flashlight to point in the direction of enemies, and this will allow your teammates to take out these enemies. Especially if you have teammates like Slayer and Levi, who can still take out enemies from behind walls. And proceeding to our second last point here, you need to also understand that you can't always revive your teammates. There are some situations whereby two of your teammates get quickly destroyed, and then the enemy team protects them and doesn't give you any chance to come and revive them. In such situations, it's not advisable for you to try and take out the entire enemy team on your own and end up getting destroyed and finishing last. Sometimes it's better for you to retreat and try to get a good finishing position for your team. And then the final tip that we have in this video is, always make it a point to use your shields and force fields while reviving your teammates. Especially in the case of force fields. These force fields have a very fast cooldown and they also recharge very fast. There is no reason why you should revive a teammate using blot or satoshi, both heroes having very low health, and you don't even put up your force field to protect yourself. You lose nothing by using your force field, because even if you use it, it's going to protect you and it's also going to cool down very fast and be ready to use again in case you have to fight off any enemies. It always sucks to lose a match just because someone was saving their force field or shield for later. Yeah, I guess that brings us to the end of today's tips. If you have any more tips that you would give to new players, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. Thanks for watching as always. stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.
And that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today.